Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's PFF Wisdom of Solomon podcast with young Anthony Treash. And Anthony, we got a lot of stuff to kick around and have some fun. But first, I want to find out, how was your Thanksgiving weekend?
I ate way too much food. And I'm feeling the pain still, but it was a good break.
I'm surprised that you just broke away from your passion of watching NFL football all day just to have a meal.
Oh, I was sitting there with my family just watching all the games, taking it all in. I couldn't miss them.
Favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Oh, sweet potato casserole.
Sweet potato casserole with
By
the marshmallows?
Oh, yeah.
With the marshmallows.
And the pecans, too.
My favorite is the dressing, it's the stuffing.
Ooh.
My mom kills it. And guess what? She taught her 4 boys. I'm the youngest of 4. She taught us how to make it. She taught us how to make everything. So I deep fry the turkey, I can make the collard greens, I can make the dressing, the stuffing as you would call it. I can get all that done. Does that surprise you?
A little bit.
See, I know my way around the kitchen.
I'm not too surprised, but I imagine it's probably pretty good.
See, when you get to be my age, Anthony, and you have your own kids, and she didn't want us sitting around waiting for someone else to cook our Thanksgiving meal. She wanted us to be able to perform it.
That's smart.
And I'm able to pull it off. So I'm going to hold you to that standard many years from now, okay?
Okay. I got to start working it up now.
Let's talk some football because, I started thinking about who is the 2019 NFL Coach of the Year. And as I started looking at it, I didn't want to base it off what the normal sort of matrix is. Who is taking their team from worst to first-year coach? If you're a guy like Bill Belichick, who's been there forever, you don't see Coach Belichick winning it. You don't see Sean Payton winning it. Guys who've been there for a while, Andy Reid, they're doing great jobs coaching their teams. They're doing a really good job. And it's almost always going to someone who's a new coach who took the team from bad to good, and that seems to be the only criteria. I wanted to kind of pick your brain and see what you thought about some of these guys, because these are guys who I kind of say, hey, look, if you were steering your ship and you hit the iceberg, now I'm going to find out what kind of coach you are. When your team starts taking on water, when you hit adversity in the middle of the season, how do you manage that? Because I think that is really where coaches kind of set themselves apart, right? Everybody's got talent. All these teams, except Miami Dolphins, Cincinnati Bengals, Washington Redskins, New York Giants, all the rest have talent. Now it's about coaching. It's about leadership. It's about when you lose your quarterback, who's next, who's on deck, and can the coaches sort of tailor it around them? So let's start with a guy like John Harbaugh's team is 10-2. Remember last year they lost the playoff game to the LA Chargers? Everyone was booing Lamar Jackson, booing the Baltimore Ravens. All John Harbaugh did, he sent Joe Flacco packing, brought in Greg Roman, built an entire offense around an unlikely quarterback that no one thought would succeed this deep into December. We certainly didn't think he'd be up for MVP. Dare I say, John Harbaugh has done a masterful job and is deserving of Coach of the Year.
I think you're absolutely right with that. People were calling for his job mid-season last year, and now he's leading the best offense in all of football. And I think you have to give props to Greg Roman. And I kind of feel like instead of Coach of the Year, we should have best, offensive scheme and defensive
offensive
scheme.
Assistant or somebody. That's coordinator,
like that.
Maybe.
Exactly, because he deserves just as much credit. But I think
good point.
What John Harbaugh has done, he kind of took a risk by saying we're going to completely throw out our entire playbook, create this new playbook with Lamar Jackson, and then he brought in more analytics guys and it really bumped that up, and you can see that on his 4th down numbers. He has the 3rd most 4th down attempts, and he's converting over 75% of those, which is absurd for an offense. And you look at this offense, and I think him and Greg Roman kind of had a say in what was actually going to happen, and you look at it, and you hear all this pistol formation talk, hear it on the broadcast now a lot. And, I went back to 2006, and they have been running it far more than any team has. Right now, they still have 4 games to play, and they've run more plays out of pistol formation than any other team ever has in a single season, and they've been highly successful. And then I think that's a story that's getting lost in it. Some people are just talking about, they run it a lot, it's different, but they've been really good from this. When they're running pistol, Lamar Jackson's averaging 8 yards per pass attempt.
Wow.
And the team as a whole is averaging 6.1 yards per rush, which is exceptional. I mean, they're better rushing out of that formation than 26 teams are just passing the ball.
Isn't that something?
That's
That's
remarkable.
exceptional. That you can run the ball and be more productive offensively than a team who's throwing the football. They have the league's number one ranked total offense, or excuse me, second ranked, but number one in rushing offense, averaging over 200 rushing yards per game, and they're scoring 33 points per game. So they're scoring more points than anyone else, more rushing touchdowns than anyone else. Up until the 49ers game, they had scored 40 or more points in 4 consecutive games. They're putting up numbers as if they were a passing team, but they are purely, I mean, they're not exclusively, but they are largely a running football team under Greg Roman.
For sure. I mean, I think, going back to it, I think you have to say this guy is leading Coach of the Year just because, I mean, I don't think, at least I haven't seen anyone ever do that as far as changing that playbook. I
That's
mean,
right.
Most coaches, dare I say, I mean, are stubborn and are like, this is my offense, we're going to run this offense. And if you can't operate in this offense, you're gone, and we're bringing in someone else that can. But he has played to the strengths of his players, and I think that's really what makes a good coach.
The Ravens' offense has scored 57 more points than any other offense in the National Football League by running the football. And I think John Harbaugh is just another caveat. You talked about the fourth down conversions, first in the NFL, converting 75%. They've attempted to go for it on fourth down 20 times. That's third most in the National Football League. So he's leveraging his running game to produce more offensive opportunities, going for it on fourth down and converting at a higher rate than any other team. I think that's masterful as a head coach. And I think if you're Jason Garrett, you might want to pay attention. You might want to pay attention. But a lot of credit to Coach Harbaugh. Let's talk about Mike Tomlin, because the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're playing with their third-string quarterback and Devlin Duck Hodges, and he's playing at a high level. And I got to kind of give Mike Tomlin some of the credit for that. They have climbed their way to a 7-5 record, and if the playoffs were to start today, the Pittsburgh Steelers would be in it. Mike Tomlin quietly has never had a losing season, and now his 13th year with the Pittsburgh Steelers as a head coach. The guy is doing something right, not having Ben, not having Antonio Brown, not having Le'Veon Bell, and yet they're still in it to win it. If that's not Coach of the Year recommended, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and like Harbaugh, some people were calling for his job too, saying I think the time's up.
Recently.
Yeah, and you know, when I'm looking at the PFF database, we have all their schedule and all their game grades laid out. I'm looking at the game-by-game schedule, and I'm looking at their quality wins, and you know, this is what kind of I'm hesitant about saying Mike Tomlin is the Coach of the Year, because right now it's looking like their best win might be the Rams. After that, the Cleveland Browns, who we all know have had their fair share of struggles as far as their coaching goes. And it very seems like, I mean, the offense last week was phenomenal in Week 13. I mean, it was great.
But what if I said this? You look at the Cleveland Browns roster. They're loaded with talent. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not loaded. James Conner's out. Marquise Pouncey's out, and I know Myles Garrett's out, but the Steelers were without a lot of their guys. I've already talked about Ben. They were without Juju Smith-Schuster. They're without their 2 best wide receivers and their starting quarterback. I just think when coaches find a way to win, man, they deserve a lot of credit.
For sure. And then, I mean, what the defense has done is I think they might be the most underrated defense in the NFL.
Good point.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, the offense is 31st in regards to our power ranking metrics, but that defense is 3rd. And the PFF grades across the board on that defense have been through the roof. I mean, TJ Watt's the highest graded edge rusher in NFL right now, above Khalil Mack, above all the top premier pass rushers. And then as well as Cam Hayward, I mean, he's only behind Aaron Donald for an interior defensive lineman PFF grade. So I really don't think this defense is getting enough credit, and I think this is what's kind of leading them to win, because when the defense is playing average or to below average, they're not winning.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
They got to play through the roof to get those wins. And I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick, that transaction seems to be kind of paying dividends for them.
It's a Mike Tomlin move. Got to give him a lot of credit. Let's talk about San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan. That team is 10-2, and it's a juggernaut of a football team. Great play calling, very creative. And the quarterback, Jimmy G, while people don't want to give him a lot of credit, he's 18-4 as a starting quarterback and has the highest winning percentage of any quarterback in the National Football League. Kyle Shanahan is doing something right. Dare we say that he makes a very strong Coach of the Year candidate?
I mean, this might be my favorite offensive scheme in football just because, I mean, they're generating the second highest rate of positive EPA on pass plays. But the passing grade for Jimmy Garoppolo is just right around the middle of the pack. So what does that tell us? The scheme is outstanding.
That's right.
And Kyle Shanahan, what he does to really open up this offense is remarkable. I mean, he uses motion to really open it up and obtain leverage. And whether it's passing or rushing, he's using it through the roof. And they're really successful at that in a top 10 offense as far as a yards per play basis goes. So, I mean, they're passing out of heavier sets, which us analytics folks love.
That's right.
Because it's a more efficient way to do it. And unshockingly, they're averaging 8.7 yards per play. And, I mean, they're using a high rate of play action as well, 10.4 yards per attempt on play action passes. So,
That's
I mean,
big time.
Kyle Shanahan knows he knows the numbers and he knows what's going to get him downfield, and he's doing that.
And you know the data. I mean, that was just a great example of a coach and really understanding the value he has to his team. This is not a quarterback-driven team. This is a head coach and play caller-driven team. Let's talk about Sean Payton, another great play caller, because here's a guy, a head coach with the New Orleans Saints. They're sitting there at 10-2. They have clinched their third consecutive NFC South division title. And they did it by playing 5 games without Drew Brees. And then they go 5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. This is a coach that kind of knows what he's doing.
I mean, for sure. This offense didn't skip a beat with
Not
Teddy
a beat.
under center. And, I mean, no one expected it. As soon as Drew Brees went down, everyone was saying, well, their season's done. Who's winning the division? And they completely flipped the script. And, I mean, here we are. And you look at their offense, and they didn't really change much with Teddy as opposed to Drew Brees. They kept it a short passing attack.
Yep.
And, I mean, as a team, they have the lowest average depth of target. But what they do with that is that they're limiting turnover-worthy plays and limiting the opportunities the defense has to make a play on them. And it really helps when you're having that short passing attack, when you have a guy like Michael Thomas.
There is no doubt Sean Payton, he can design an offense. He really doesn't have anyone stretch the field. He has got a great receiver in Mike Thomas. It's all possession game, really good run game. They're playing good complementary football because the defense is chipping in as well. I want to talk about one more guy as we're having this conversation about NFL Coach of the Year in 2019. Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills have led his team to 9 wins in their first 12 games. They're 9-3, and they're stuck in that division with the New England Patriots, so they may not even win the division. Kind of hard to give a coach a Coach of the Year award who doesn't win the division, but McDermott has built a defense that reminds me of the Patriots. It's about coverage first on the back end. They're the 3rd highest graded defense in pass coverage behind the Patriots and the 49ers. Our PFF grade is elite for this pass coverage defense, and they've allowed the second fewest touchdown passes, 9 in 12 games. So they don't even give up 1 touchdown pass per game. And that's how they're going about winning with a very young, unseasoned quarterback in Josh Allen. Sean McDermott deserves to be on this list.
For sure. I mean, I would say Harbaugh and Shanahan, they're at the top. But I think right behind him is Sean McDermott. I think people need to start recognizing that because, as you said, this defense is outstanding. They're a top 5 defense according to PFF ELO, and they're allowing the 3rd lowest EPA per pass in the entire NFL. And it's kind of a shame that they just don't have, an average or a slightly above average quarterback. Because, I mean, Josh Allen, while he has improved this season, he's still not.
He's still not there.
He's still not there.
That's right.
I mean, he is our lowest graded quarterback on deep passes by far. I mean, he has 8 big-time throws and 20 turnover-worthy plays. I mean, that's not a good ratio. I mean, he's improved on the short passing and intermediate passing, and his legs are great. He can run and and make some plays with that way, but he's just not there accuracy-wise. So, I mean, it's kind of a shame that he doesn't have a quarterback because I think we would be saying the Buffalo Bills might be rivaling New England Patriots for the division if they did.
Hey, and Patriots, watch out. Sean McDermott is here to stay. And if he can get this quarterback up to a competent and consistent level, the Bills are going to be a lot to deal with. I think the Dallas Cowboys already figured it out. the Buffalo Bills are a really good football team. And so that's going to do it in terms of our coaches of the year in 2019. We're looking at Coach John Harbaugh, what he's doing with the Ravens, Mike Tomlin, and his ability to still thrive with the Pittsburgh Steelers despite playing with the third-string quarterback, Kyle Shanahan, masterful play caller, Sean Payton getting it done even without Drew Brees, third straight division title, and Sean McDermott with the Buffalo Bills. Okay, let's stop down a little bit. Anthony Treash, I know you've got something that's sort of brewing in that great brain of yours. Quarterback controversies are a brewing. And I guess we have to start with no place other than Jacksonville, where they gave Nick Foles all this money. And boy, did he lay an egg, turning the ball over, I think, the first 3 possessions of the game, and just gave the game away. And now we're going to get Gardner Minshew back in the starting lineup. So that's a controversy.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't just like Gardner Minshew getting the starting job over Nick Foles. I love it.
Love it?
This is the move. This was the move to make. I mean, he is a top 10 quarterback in PFF grade on throws at or beyond the sticks, which is what you want in a quarterback. You want to see him throw downfield. And when you filter that to just deep pass attempts of 20-plus yards, he's our 3rd highest graded quarterback behind Watson and Wilson.
That's right.
I mean, he has no turnover-worthy plays on those plays and has the 3rd most yards per attempt. And you look at Nick Foles, and I mean, he would be, if qualified, a bottom 5 quarterback when throwing at or beyond the sticks. And I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have this problem because they just signed him, and this is a quarterback-needy league.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of teams that need a guy, and this guy won a Super Bowl. I think he's going to fetch a lot in the trade market if they opt to do that this offseason.
That will be very interesting. Let's talk about another quarterback controversy that's brewing with the Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton, Kyle Allen. Every time I hear this, I just want to be like, are you kidding me? If you saw 2 guys standing next to each other, and you said if one was Cam Newton, the other was Kyle Allen, who would you want for your quarterback? Just the eyeball test. And every time they get in a critical situation, Kyle Allen plays for the other team. He becomes a double agent. He's making a play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and helping them to walk away with a win. So as good as he's been early, helped them win some games, it was really going through Christian McCaffrey more than anything. I'm going the other way. This one for me is less of a controversy, but I get it.
Yeah, and I think America's kind of skewed on Kyle Allen's first game because when he in his first game,
he lit it up. That's right.
He had a PFF grade in the 80s, one of our highest graded quarterbacks that week, and he was good. Ever since then, though, it's been downhill. He has not even been close.
He's a placeholder.
Exactly, and I mean he is our 2nd lowest graded quarterback overall. I mean 53.9 overall grade. That's very poor and not good. And he has the 5th most turnover-worthy plays from a clean pocket. So as you said, he is giving the defense opportunity after opportunity to make a play when they're not even getting to the quarterback in the pass rush. And I mean, ultimately, a healthy Cam Newton is better than Kyle Allen. And if you look at it over the last few years, that MVP season he had back in 2015, 86.5 overall grade, then he got hurt, and then it dropped off. And you could see that in his PFF grade. But back in 2018, he started off healthy. He was good. I mean, he was our 11th in PFF passing grade over the first 9 weeks of 2018. Injuries caught up with him, went downhill ever since.
So when we talk about Kyle Allen, America, I got to tell you, some quarterbacks are just good enough to get you beat. All right, let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts, because when the season began, we were very high on Jacoby Brissett. But as of late, I'm looking at that Colts offense, and they lack big plays. They lack big-time pass plays. Jacoby Brissett, 27th among 32 quarterbacks who are starting in the NFL in big-time throws with only 8 all season long. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and I mean, he's just not the answer. And I think a lot of people are starting to recognize it.
Yeah.
And I think the media is starting to catch up because I know we were talking about it a few weeks ago.
That's
we were
right.
talking about Andrew Luck is definitely the better quarterback. There's no doubt about it. Jacoby Brissett's not even near his level. And you look at the grades and you can see that. He's our 6th lowest graded quarterback on throws of 10-plus yards. And it seems like most of his playmaking has come outside of the pocket. And when plays are kind of, collapsing and the defense is kind of slow with him. And I mean, he has great legs. He sure does. And he can create outside of the structure a little bit. But I mean, he's dead last in PFF grade from a clean pocket. And I just really haven't seen enough from him inside the pocket.
Yeah.
And he really can't throw the ball downfield in today's NFL, you need to throw
consistently,
the ball downfield.
right?
Exactly.
And so this is a quarterback controversy in Indianapolis with the Colts because Jacoby Brissett, it's you versus the draft. It's you versus who might they take? But it's the job, I don't think exclusively belongs to him.
Yeah, and I think an interesting person to look at in this draft is Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, the injury.
He's going to come down the draft board,
exactly.
obviously.
And I think that would be an interesting one. And I think that's one Chris Ballard and Frank Reich would entertain. Because
they're built everywhere else. Offensive line, defense, right?
Absolutely. And, I mean, they also signed Jacoby to a contract extension prior to the season. So I think I would not be surprised if they drafted Tua, stuck with Jacoby for another year or two.
Let Tua heal up.
Exactly.
Give him time to rest and become Tua again, right? That'd be really good. So that's the Indianapolis Colts. What about the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because there are some interesting options there.
Yeah. Mason Rudolph, we all know he did not play well. I mean, he's our lowest graded quarterback for this season, 50.1 grade. And I mean, Duck Hodges, he has the wins, but he's still not performing the best. Just a 61.2 grade. I mean, last week he did play well from a passing perspective. But I think at this point, we know Ben's his time is coming to an end. And so you have to look at either bringing in a free agent with this stacked defense. I think that might be the best way to go. Because Ben Roethlisberger last year, he was not the same Big Ben we've known for previous years. I mean, he was not as accurate downfield. I mean, he had one of the lowest rates of catchable passes throwing when targeting the sticks. So I think at this point you have to think they really need to get, kind of frisky in free agency and try to get after one of the open quarterbacks.
And when you're, close to 40 years old, he'll be coming back next year to be his 17th NFL season. The two other quarterbacks drafted the same year with Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, they appear to be at the end of the road as well, particularly with their respective teams. And so to think that Ben's going to come back with a damaged elbow after sitting out a year and come back a flamethrower, I think that is unrealistic. He might still be functional, but as you mentioned, even healthy last year, did not push the ball down the field consistently with accuracy and explosiveness. And so, they may want to start looking at who is going to replace Big Ben. They thought it would be Mason Rudolph, but I think Mason has already answered that question. And Devlin Duck Hodges, let's face it, I think they feel like they could do better if they found themselves in the very same situation they're in now, if they were in that same situation in 2020. Lastly, let's talk about Denver Broncos. Drew, is he a lock in Denver?
I don't know. It's early to tell. And the preseason was very underwhelming for him against guys that aren't even on NFL rosters.
We were like,
Exactly. I mean, he had a 43.5 passing grade in the preseason. I mean, against guys that aren't even in the league anymore. In Week 13, he was marginally better. He had a 56.7 passing grade, was not good from a clean pocket, had no big-time throws and a turnover-worthy play. So, I mean, I think if you can't look at your quarterback and say, this is my guy, you never stop looking. You always go through the draft and try to get another guy. And I would not be surprised if John Elway did just that. Maybe if they're down low enough to get a Justin Herbert, or if they want to get a Jacob Eason, Jake Fromm, one of those guys, I would not be surprised to see
keep going at it, right?
Exactly.
Wow, that would be interesting. Hey, Drew, you've got to keep playing, man. You got your team off to a 14-0 lead against the LA Chargers. Threw a late pick in that game in the fourth quarter, but then threw up I got lucky, got a penalty flag to put his team in position for a game-winning field goal and won the game in his very first career start, but we need to see more. All right, that's good stuff. I love that conversation, talking about some of the quarterbacks, because I think there's going to be more talk about those teams and what's going to happen this offseason at the quarterback position with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Panthers, the Colts, Steelers, and Broncos. Right now, let's see if we can make a case for getting Tom Brady another receiver. Desperately needs one, because when he was in Houston in the Sunday night game against the Texans, miscommunications. There was no one who can make plays outside the numbers and down the field consistently outside of Julian Edelman. They are hurting. We know Rob Gronkowski's absence has taken a real true playmaker off the table. for Tom Brady. And the only receiver I see out there that could step in right away and conceivably be a playmaker for this offense, to give hope to Tom Brady in this offense, is one Antonio Brown, the headache known as Antonio Brown. So can we make a case for why the Patriots should bequeath Antonio Brown to Tom Brady? I think it would make a great Christmas present.
Yeah, I mean, they need all the help they can get because right now their receiving unit is poor. And right outside of Julian Edelman, I think the best receiver on the team might be James White, a running back.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone else has not shown much. I mean, the Mohamed Sanu trade hasn't seemed to be paying off for him
Has not
too much
flowered
at all. I mean, he has a 63.5 receiving grade in his 4 games as a New England Patriot. When I watch this offense, what it looks like to me is that he needs Gronk back. Tom Brady needs Gronkowski in this offense. I mean, and the deadline's already passed. November 30th was his last day to come back. And I think the day before, he should have been outside of his window holding a boom box saying, oh, I need you, Rob.
You know what he really needs? And I'm going to tell you what he needs. He needs receivers who are explosive. He needs receivers who are going to get separation. He needs receivers who are Sutton and can get open right now. Now, how do I know? Because that's what he said. That's exactly what he told these receivers. I need you to be more explosive in the middle of the game against Houston. I need you to get open. I need separation. You got to give me some separation. I need you to get open right now, because the pass rush was overwhelming Tom Brady. And so these are the things that Antonio Brown can give him. He's Sutton. He's explosive. He can create yards after the catch. Listen, when you say goodbye to Demaryius Thomas, who's now making some plays, when you say goodbye to Josh Gordon, and Rob Gronkowski has also left the building, and you once had Antonio Brown, and I could see why you would say goodbye to him, but maybe now it's time to say hello.
Exactly, and I mean, it kind of seemed like they really were hoping for a lot in Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry. And I mean, N'Keal Harry, he was good at Arizona State in contested situations. Yes. He was great in those situations, and he thrived in tight separation, but that was in college. You know, that was against Pac-12 defenses. This is the NFL. He can't get away with that now. We saw that when Brady threw that interception. I mean, it kind of seemed like it was kind of a little bit on him because he can't get separation at all. So I mean, you kind of look at the draft board too, who was available. Terry McLaurin, I mean, they have to be kicking themselves at that because that's exactly...
Third-round pick?
Mm-hmm, that's exactly what Tom Brady needs. I mean, he needs a guy like that, a guy like Antonio Brown that gives
smooth route runner,
big-time playmaking ability. And, I mean, I'm not sure what the off-the-field is at this moment in time, but strictly on the field, this guy would take this offense to the next level, and we would be talking about them being the Super Bowl favorite in the AFC, in which I think they might already be right now, even with the Baltimore Ravens in there.
Tom Brady was trying to get Philip Dorsett to run a sluggo. He was trying to get, and he had him. And Tom expected it, but he wasn't there. He needs a receiver who understands the language, who can read coverages post-snap, right? At the line of scrimmage and post-snap, because the routes convert based on what the coverage is doing. And he doesn't have someone who could do that outside of Julian Edelman. What if I told you that the Patriots versus the Blitz, the Patriots wide receivers have tied for the second most drops of any wide receiving core in the National Football League, 13 in all, tied with the Dallas Cowboys. So that really shows you how much this wide receiving core is inadequate and insufficient for a Patriots team who's always pushing for a Super Bowl title. The number one receiver has to impose some kind of fear factor on the secondary. And without that, they don't have to defend every blade of grass. They can sit on routes on double-team Julian Edelman and say, the rest of the guys can't beat us.
Exactly. And I mean, that's not a knock on Julian Edelman. I mean, he's still a good wide receiver.
He's very good.
But he needs another guy in this offense.
That's right.
Because
to balance it out.
Exactly, because it kind of seems like he's getting relied on just a little bit too much to make plays that just really aren't there because there's really no other option on the field. And like I said, it all goes back to they need someone with big-time playmaking ability. And you look at Antonio Brown, I mean, he was year over year the best deep receiver in the NFL.
It's not too late. Don't have to make a trade. All you got to do is make a phone call. I know a lot of people just say, hey, well, no, leave Antonio Brown alone. The only people who do not want the Patriots bringing in Antonio Brown are the crowds of Patriot haters who are tired of watching them win Super Bowls. But if you're a Patriots fan, you might want to go ahead and send old Bill Belichick an email. You might want to go ahead and write him a letter. I just wanted to make a case for why we should give Tom Brady an early Christmas present and make it Antonio Brown. All right, let's wrap this thing up by talking about a couple of quarterbacks. And I want to sort of gauge you on this. Love the way that you conceptualize things. You look at the data. And you take the emotion out. You let the data lead you to truth, which is what we hope most of our viewers will do by going to pff.com and even logging on to our YouTube channel, right? And checking out our content. Let the data tell you what to think. Do you believe or are you an unbeliever in quarterback Mitchell Trubisky? His last 4 games, 8 touchdown passes, 8 big-time throws, only 4 turnover-worthy plays. Number 1 in PFF grade, the passing grade, week 13. Phenomenal, playing at an elite level in that Thanksgiving Day game. Week 10, he posted the second highest PFF grade, or the second highest of any quarterback in the National Football League during week 10. And his 4 highest grades this season have all come over the last 4 weeks. So while he was just bottoming out in the early part of the season, now, the last 4 weeks, he's been out of his mind, playing phenomenally well. And that's why they're, quote, I don't want to say in the playoff hunt, but they're not out of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're not out of it. It's going to be tough for them.
Yeah.
They got the Cowboys, Chiefs, Packers, and Vikings coming up. They're going to have to win out, which will be a tough task. And, looking at Mitchell Trubisky, there's promise in the last 4 weeks, sure. I mean, the first 9 weeks, he had the second lowest passing grade in the NFL, 49.1.
It was bad.
It was very, very bad. I mean, they had to turn off the TVs. That's how bad it was. But like you said, the last 4 weeks, he's our 3rd highest graded quarterback in passing grade at 81.0. So you're looking at this, you kind of have to ask, what's really different? Why is he graded out so high? Mm-hmm. Why has he been more successful over the last 4 weeks? He's been producing more big-time throws and not giving many opportunities to the defense, as you said. However, there's still some bad decision-making. The difference between first and third for him, is pretty large. So he's just above the rest of the pack.
Yeah.
And if he wasn't so inaccurate, he'd be right up in there.
Yes, he would. That's right.
Looking at it, he has the 4th most incompletions that were on him over the last 4 weeks. So that really speaks volumes as to his inaccuracies are still there. He's just not throwing as many interceptions in those. So thinking about that, he has a lot of overthrows, a lot of underthrows, a lot of misreading coverages. So, that's where we're seeing that. And it's kind of hard right now at this point in his career to improve that accuracy in decision-making. I hear guys all the time say it. The number one thing you can't really
improve on is being accurate.
Exactly. And, at this point, I think Ryan Pace kind of needs to admit his fault here.
Move on.
Exactly.
So you're an unbeliever.
I'm an unbeliever, and I think the draft is going to tell all with the Chicago Bears team this offseason.
What about free agency? What are guys like Andy Dalton could be available? Guys like Cam Newton could be available. Marcus Mariota. If Marcus isn't, then that means Ryan Tannehill will be. There could be some guys. Let's face it now, some of it you might want to go dipping into the draft pool, but it's time to move on, I guess is what we're saying.
Yeah, and if you want to know what I would do in this situation, I would make a move in free agency. I would get a guy like an Andy Dalton, Marcus Mariota, or if Carolina makes a mistake of parting ways with Cam Newton for Kyle Allen, maybe him. But then at the same time, drafting a guy like Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round, because they don't have a first-round pick.
That's right.
And Jalen Hurts looks like he might be in that 2nd-round range. So I think drafting and stashing might be the move here, but I would be very surprised if that would move Mitchell Trubisky down to the 3rd-string quarterback, or if they even cut him altogether, because I think it would be very hard for this organization just to kind of realize this was our 2nd overall pick.
Yeah, they moved up in the draft, or up the draft board, even passed on guys like Deshaun Watson, passed on guys like Patrick Mahomes to take them. So they're sort of emotionally invested as well as financially. Here's another guy I want to ask you about. Ryan Tannehill, 5-1. As the Titans starting quarterback in the last 6 weeks. Overall grade of 82.8, a very high passing grade as well. In week 13, he posted the 2nd highest quarterback rating, despite being sacked 6 times in that game. His teammates seem to like him. They will follow this guy. They have seen him snatch victory from the jaws of defeat at Arrowhead Stadium against a good Chiefs team. They've seen him make big-time plays in critical moments. They seem to be a believer in Tannehill. Are you?
You know, it's difficult to kind of see because you look at his 2018. I mean, he posted one of the worst passing grades we have ever seen from an NFL quarterback.
He was with the Dolphins. He was with Adam Gase. He was confused.
I mean, sure, but at the same time,
he was seeing ghosts.
That's true. He might have been, but at the same time, I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
But early on in his career, he did kind of show something like we're seeing this year.
Yeah.
And I think I might be buying into him a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a change of scenery is good for him. I mean, since he became the starter, he has been our 5th highest graded quarterback and outstanding when he's in a clean pocket. I mean, top 5 again, and is averaging a half yard more than any other quarterback in yards per attempt from a clean pocket. And I mean, if he's in rhythm and throwing intermediate range, I mean, he's been on the money for the Titans. I mean, he's been lights out. I mean, he's been the most accurate quarterback when throwing downfield in that time span.
Yeah, and challenging defenses, right?
Exactly. And, I mean, as you said, the teammates are buying into it, and I think I'm buying into it. I mean, granted, he's going to turn 32 years old next July. So, I mean, he's not the long-term solution here, but I think he provides a pretty good short-term for
He's
him.
giving that team a shot at a division title. They're back in the hunt. Mike Vrabel's so resilient, and that coaching staff is so good. He showed up at the right moment to presumably save their season. I don't want to get too far ahead, but it looks like they're trending in the right direction. You know who else is trending in the right direction? Young Anthony Treash. His stock is going up here at PFF. He's been awarded new assignments. He's doing some new creative stuff. We absolutely love him here. If you're a young person out there, you love data analytics, you love the National Football League, you can come join us. Because if he could do it, I think you could do it too. You having a good time here?
Absolutely.
You like your new roles coming up?
I love it.
Tell me a little bit, just a little bit. Give me a little bit. What are you going to be doing?
You know, I'm not too sure yet, but I mean, we'll kind of narrow out the details in the coming days. But I mean, there's exciting times around here at PFF, and you're going to want to stick around because we have some pretty interesting data coming up.
That's right. We're going to revamp our content. We're going to give you greater premium, more feature stories, talk about fun stuff that's happening around the National Football League. And as we move into the offseason, we're going to talk about draft and tell you what you can expect from your team, all 32 teams in the National Football League. It's been great hanging out with young Anthony Treash over the last few weeks and having this wonderful PFF Wisdom of Solomon podcast. He's Anthony Treash. I'm Solomon Wilcots. Thank you for joining us.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.